This is what always happens before the RV market crashes. And it's happening again right now. Inventory is climbing. Sales are stalling. Dealers are smiling for the camera while drowning behind the scenes. Sound familiar? It should, because this is the same setup that crushed the industry in 2008 and blindsided it again in 2020. Every time the charts start to flatten, the same trap springs shut. Too much stock, too little demand. And once the loans dry up, everything breaks at once. The pattern never fails, it just repeats. Here's how close we are this time. The quiet overload begins. Dealers are not cutting prices out of kindness. They are cutting because they have to. Across the country, brand new rigs are sitting longer than they have since 2008. In March of 2025, the National R-vee Inventory Index rose by 23% year over year, even as retail registrations fell by 12%. That spread is the first quiet alarm. It means more units are entering the system than leaving it. And when that happens, price stability starts to break from the inside. On camera, a drone shot of sprawling dealer lots in Texas and Indiana shows hundreds of identical white roofs lined up row after row. Most still have the factory window sticker. Behind the camera, a faint sound of transport trucks backing up repeats, a visual echo of oversupply. You can feel that something is off. In past cycles, this is exactly how the downturn begins. Inventory climbs just a little faster than demand, and every manufacturer insists it is seasonal, but it never is. It is the same setup that appeared before the 2008 crash and again in 2020. When new stock piles up faster than buyers arrive, the next problem isn't sales, it is storage. That imbalance becomes clearer when you look at what factories are still shipping compared to what customers are actually buying. Shipments don't match sales. Factories are still running hot, even while showrooms slow down. In February, the R-vee Industry Association reported 36,000 units shipped, but state registration data showed only 27,000 new titles. That 9,000 unit gap represents hundreds of millions of dollars in unsold machines scattered across dealer lots. It is the same pattern that formed 3 months before the 2008 collapse and 6 months before the 2020 pandemic correction. Every rig built adds pressure downstream. Each one must be transported, insured, and financed before a single customer steps on board. When production keeps climbing in the face of soft retail demand, the system swells like an overfilled tank. Dealers keep accepting deliveries because refusing a load can void their factory incentives. So they sign the shipment, park the unit, and hope spring traffic saves them. It rarely does. Inside one Midwest distribution hub, workers joke that the lot feels more like a storage yard than a launch pad. Rows of Class A coaches wait for buyers who never materialize. That sight, silent giants under a half-empty sun, is the physical form of excess, and when excess sits still, it starts costing money by the hour. That is when inventory stops being an asset and turns into a liability. If you've noticed the same signs, empty lots, deeper discounts, slower buyers, drop a comment below and hit like. The more voices we have, the clearer this pattern becomes. Inventory becomes liability. Each unsold RV on a dealer lot carries what's called floor plan interest. It is essentially rent on borrowed money. At current rates, a $200,000 motorhome costs roughly $33 per day to finance. Multiply that by 100 rigs, and the dealer is burning nearly $100,000 a month before even paying staff or power bills. When units linger beyond 90 days, margins evaporate. Dealers who survived previous downturns know the sound of ticking interest clocks. They feel it in the pit of their stomach every morning when they unlock the gates. A few have already started moving inventory to secondary lots to hide how full the main displays have become. Others are calling banks to renegotiate credit lines. None of that signals confidence. It signals survival mode. This is the point where small dealers begin to crack. A single slow quarter can push them underwater. The larger chains can float longer, but even they start quietly canceling orders from manufacturers to stem the bleed. When the flow of shipments meets the wall of unsold stock, something has to give. And that give shows up first in the prices, the visible symptom of a deeper strain. Discount fever hits the lot. Walk any major dealer row this month, and you will see the banners. Blowout event, spring clearance, make offer. But these aren't cheerful marketing pushes. They are distress signals. Dealers are trimming $20,000 to $40,000 off rigs less than a year old. A Class C that listed for $139,000 last summer is now advertised at $105. A fifth wheel that once held firm at $84,000 is marked at $69. The markdowns are not optional. They are the only way to keep the floor plan interest meter from swallowing the margin entirely. Buyers see a bargain, but the dealer sees a fuse burning down. These early price cuts mark the moment when the market stops expanding and begins bleeding. Manufacturers feel it next. Rebate budgets balloon, production targets slip, and factory workers sense the slowdown before anyone admits it. History has shown the pattern is always the same: oversupply, financing strain, panic pricing, and then the pullback. We are now 3/4 through that sequence. The headlines will not catch up for months, but the numbers already have. And what comes after the discounts is the part manufacturers dread. When the system built to grow begins to unravel, used values collapse first. The first real hit never comes from new prices. It starts in the used market. According to the J.D. Power Specialty Index, wholesale values for pre-owned RVs dropped by 15% between December of 2024 and March of 2025. That number might not sound catastrophic, but for a typical Class A motorhome originally priced at $200,000, that decline erases $30,000 of equity overnight. Owners still paying off their loans now owe more than their rigs are worth, even if they have never missed a payment. Dealers feel this collapse before the public does. Trade-in appraisals that once penciled out now fall short by tens of thousands, forcing managers to reject deals they would have welcomed last year. Buyers walk away confused, thinking the dealer is greedy, when in reality, the used price guides have been quietly rewritten. The crash always begins in silence, with equity vanishing from spreadsheets no one outside the office ever sees. It is the same pattern seen before 2008, and again in 2020. Used values drop first, confidence second, and sales third. And when confidence breaks, factories make the worst move possible. They keep building. Factories flood the market. When orders slow, logic says production should pause. Instead, factories double down to protect revenue flow. Internal memos leaked from 2 major manufacturers show production quotas holding steady through spring, even as dealers beg for relief. The logic is simple but deadly. Keep the assembly lines running to cover fixed costs, and let rebates handle the rest. That is how the flood begins. This year's incentive sheets prove it. Loyalty cash, dealer recovery bonuses, and special finance tiers appear almost weekly. On paper, they look like support, but in practice, they are artificial stimulants that mask the real problem. Too much inventory. A fifth wheel that retails at $90,000 now comes with hidden factory cash worth $8,000, plus a deferred interest plan. Dealers are told to advertise instant savings, while manufacturers quietly reimburse them later. It works for a moment, then collapses when rebate budgets run dry. Every time factories use rebates to hide oversupply, they dig the hole deeper. Prices look steady, but only because they are propped up by borrowed money. And the moment that borrowed money becomes harder to find, the next domino falls. The financing squeeze. The financing squeeze. Banks have started closing their umbrellas just as the storm begins. Approval rates for R-vee loans dropped from 82% last spring to 61% this March, according to internal dealer finance reports. Average interest rates climbed from 7% to nearly 9%, adding hundreds of dollars per month to the same loan amount. The shift may not sound dramatic, but it instantly redefines who can afford to buy. For many households, an extra $200 a month means the difference between signing and walking. When applications slow, dealers turn to extended terms to keep payments low. 12-year loans are now advertised as standard compared to 10-year terms just 2 years ago. That longer leash helps sales numbers look stable, but it traps buyers in rigs that depreciate faster than they pay them off. Lenders know this and tighten further, creating a feedback loop that strangles both sides. When money gets tight, confidence follows. Dealers stop ordering, buyers stop applying. The gears grind slower every week. And for dealers, that slowdown turns deadly fast because their lifeline to cash is also their biggest expense. Floor plan financing. The floor plan trap tightens. Every R-vee sitting on a lot is financed like inventory in a warehouse, and those short-term loans are called floor plans. When interest rates rise, the cost of holding unsold stock doubles almost instantly. A dealer carrying $10 million in inventory now pays close to $1 million a year in interest, up from roughly half that just 2 years ago. Those payments don't stop when sales slow, they pile up. Smaller dealerships, especially family-run stores with older facilities, can't keep up. Some are quietly closing on Mondays to cut payroll. Others are liquidating aging units at auction just to clear their notes. Industry trackers have already spotted a 35% jump in late-model consignments since January. That isn't coincidence. It's capitulation. Big chains absorb a few losses, but small rooftops crumble first. It's the same domino effect seen before every market correction. The lenders get nervous, the dealers get squeezed, and the factories act surprised. From above, the lots still look full, but behind those gates, the financial air is thinning. And what happens next isn't measured in spreadsheets or indexes. It's written on the faces of the people still showing up for work in those parking lots. Empty eyes, full lots. Walk through any dealership today, and the silence is the first thing you notice. The hum of weekend traffic is gone. Sales desks that once juggled multiple buyers now sit empty except for half-finished coffee cups and paper tags. "We used to sell 10 units a weekend," says a floor manager in Ohio. "Last month, we sold 2. His voice carries the tone of someone who has already accepted what's coming. Behind the glass, sales staff shuffle between R-vees like caretakers in a museum. The rigs gleam, but no one is looking. In some showrooms, the air conditioning is turned down to save power. One technician says he now spends more time detailing the same display models than prepping sold ones. It is the visual stage of denial. The industry pretending business is normal, while everyone inside knows the music has stopped. For every empty visitor chair, there's a silent paycheck. Bonuses vanish first, then hours. It's the first time since 2020 that dealers talk about layoffs without whispering. The numbers are now visible in their eyes. The stillness on the lots was just the beginning. The next shock arrived by email. Canceled dreams. The next wave hits not in the lots, but in the inboxes. Customer service teams across several major manufacturers report an uptick in refund requests and canceled orders. One leaked email from a national brand's customer support division mentions a 29% rise in cancellation volume since January. That means hundreds of families have changed their minds or simply can't secure financing anymore. Deposits that were once treated as safe are suddenly liabilities. Dealers hate processing refunds because each one erases a future commission. But the bigger damage comes from confidence collapse. Customers read online threads about falling values, hesitate, and pull the plug before delivery. Some never get their deposits back, trapped by fine print that defines them as non-refundable order commitments. Lawsuits have already started to appear in local court filings. For salespeople, it feels like losing a limb. When orders fall through, every department feels it. Finance, prep, delivery, even the transport drivers who now idle on standby. The fallout didn't stop at the factory gates. It spread down the streets, through the diners, and into the lives built around the industry. The ripple through towns. In Elkhart, Indiana, the beating heart of American R-vee manufacturing, a quiet slowdown feels like a tightening fist. Restaurants near the plants report lunch sales down by 17% since winter. Tool suppliers and parts shops that thrive on steady factory work are cutting hours. Even the gas stations near dealer clusters report fewer fill-ups, the kind that come from customers hauling new rigs home. It's a chain reaction. Every idle production line means fewer paychecks, fewer meals bought, and fewer taxes paid. City councils start postponing local road repairs. R-vee parks in tourist corridors like Arizona and Florida see bookings soften as owners hold off on upgrades or repairs. The slowdown isn't dramatic yet, but it is spreading like a slow leak. Silent, steady, and impossible to patch. One machinist sums it up plainly. When the dealers stop calling, we all feel it by Friday. The numbers match the sentiment. Employment filings in key R-vee counties show small but steady layoffs each month since February. What once looked like a market correction now looks like a community contraction. And just as the pain becomes visible, the story changes the same. Networks that fueled the boom begin rewriting the narrative. The narrative flip. Not long ago, every headline called it a comeback. R-vee boom rolls on, and record demand for road freedom filled the feeds through 2024. Now, the language has turned. The same outlets are using words like glut, correction, and stall. A trade magazine that once ran glossy spreads of smiling couples now features aerial shots of full storage lots. The optimism evaporates overnight, replaced by cautious phrases like market normalization. The shift isn't accidental. It's how the industry protects itself. As soon as inventory pressure becomes undeniable, public relations teams move to reframe it as opportunity. They say, now is the best time to buy, while quietly trimming staff and delaying new model launches. It's the same playbook used after the 2008 housing slump and again post-pandemic. The message is crafted to soothe, not inform, but those who've watched these cycles before can see the pivot for what it is. The moment when truth starts catching up to marketing. When the headlines finally admit the slowdown, the next stage has already begun. That's when the 3 alarm signals all flash at once, and the real countdown starts ticking. If you want real proof before the next price drop hits, subscribe now. Every week, we track the numbers, the leaks, and the turning points before they reach headlines. The 3 alarms. Every market crash has its countdown, and this one is already halfway through. The first alarm is inventory. National tracking sites now show dealer stock levels up by 32% since fall, with the average unit sitting 145 days before sale, the longest hold time in a decade. The second alarm is discount depth. Price reductions that started at $10,000 in early spring are now averaging over $20,000. In some regions, dealers are quietly moving rigs below invoice just to keep their floor plan accounts open. Those are not promotions. They are emergency exits. The third alarm, financing, is still warming up but flickering to life. Major credit unions have started limiting R-vee loan exposure, while captive lenders shorten approval windows and tighten credit scores. In past downturns, that final signal arrived last, and when it did, the crash was already in motion. 2 alarms are ringing clearly now: rising inventory and falling prices. The last one, credit, is the only thing holding the system together. And that means timing becomes everything, because history shows that the best deals appear only after the noise fades. Timing the buy window. History leaves breadcrumbs for those patient enough to read them. In 2008, R-vee prices bottomed roughly 90 days after the official recession call. In 2020, used prices dipped by nearly 20% between the initial lockdown and the summer rebound. The same pattern repeats because panic always moves faster than logic. When dealers hit maximum pressure, they unload stock just to survive the month. That moment, when fear overtakes pride, is the buyer's window. We're not there yet, but we are close. Once financing tightens fully, new buyers vanish, leaving inventory stranded. That's when the true markdowns appear. Not the headline discounts, but the quiet ones negotiated behind closed doors. Waiting those extra weeks can mean saving $10,000 to $20,000 on the same rig. The trick is resisting the early sales pitch that says, prices won't get lower. They always do, just not for long. The data from past cycles proves it. Patience pays. When panic peaks, opportunity opens. Briefly. But while some wait to buy, others are trying to sell, and for them, survival depends on strategy, not hope. How sellers can survive. For anyone trying to offload an R-vee right now, emotion is the enemy. The market no longer rewards waiting for the perfect buyer. It rewards precision. Private sellers must list aggressively within a narrow pricing window, ideally 5 to 10% below current guide value, to attract real cash offers before the next wave of drops. Holding out for yesterday's prices only guarantees tomorrow's losses. Small dealers face a harder fight. Their best move is rotating inventory quickly, even at minimal profit, to reduce interest burn. Delaying title transfers or trying to float units between lots rarely works. Lenders notice, and penalties follow. The most successful survivors treat each sale as a clearance, not a showcase. Buyers still exist, but they're smarter, cautious, and hunting data before emotion. Avoiding lowball traps means staying factual. Show maintenance records, service receipts, and proof of condition. Facts defend price better than hope ever can. The sellers who adapt now will still be standing when the next cycle turns. The sellers who adjust quickly will have one final window to act. A narrow, 30-day reckoning already underway. The next 30 days decide. This is the phase that separates speculation from survival. In the next month, manufacturers will quietly pause production weeks to drain excess stock. Parts shipments will slow as suppliers brace for reduced orders. Auction houses are already preparing for a rise in repossessions, especially from owners who financed heavily during the pandemic boom. Listings for nearly new units will climb, and those numbers will tell the truth before the headlines do. For buyers, this is the moment to watch, not rush. In every past cycle, the 30-day stretch between factory slowdown and mass liquidation has marked the deepest dip in price, the reset before recovery. Dealers will push the now or never narrative, but the smart move is silence and patience. Let the pressure build. Let the financing gates close. Then move in when others pull back. By the time the media calls it a crash, the window will already be opening. Wait 3 more weeks. The next drop's already in motion. Don't let them rush you. Because when the market resets, only those who stayed patient and informed will walk away ahead. When the charts start dropping, don't be the last to know. Hit subscribe now, drop a comment with what you're seeing in your area, and stay ahead of the next crash.